At the beginning and every 4 years during the study, participants completed food frequency questionnaires that were used to calculate the amount, source, and types of fat in their diet over the previous year. Okay, every 4 years they did this. Can you remember everything that you ate over the past year? How about the past 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? A diet survey every 4 years is not going to give you accurate data. I mean, I could probably do it because I have a very rigid and boring diet, eating carnivore. I eat about 2 pounds of beef and I eat about this much dairy, and okay, I'll throw in an avocado here and there and da-da-da-da-da. You know, I could probably figure it out, but the average person, there's no way. If they wanted to be intellectually honest about this, rather than relying on diet surveys to get this data, they would check in monthly. And we have apps now on our phone. How hard would it be for them to input daily exactly what they eat? They could definitely team up with one of these apps that tracks food for you. The Fit Day, there's all kind of ones that are out there now, even like Chronometer, and then they can see the actual food that they're eating, what the nutrient value is, blah, blah, blah. But no, they rely on the recollection of these people to write down what did you eat over the past 4 years, because they only checked in once every 4 years. That's no way to run a scientific study. And yet they're going to make a splash in the headlines. Oh, you eat animal-based foods, it's going to cause cardiovascular and stroke issues for you. And if you eat vegetable fat, oh, it's going to lower your risk. Bullshit. I'm sorry. No, that's not what this study found. This study found associations based on very flawed data. These diet surveys have never been reliable for creating good data for a scientific study. A lot of people ask me, Jimmy, how do you get such good deep sleep? Well, there's a lot of things that I do, but one of the newest things that I recently added is this upgraded magnesium from a company called Upgraded Formulas. Go to their website, upgradedformulas.com, and you can learn all about this nano technology that they use for this particular mineral of magnesium. Again, it's called Upgraded Magnesium, and it's got all the different forms of magnesium in it, using the nanotechnology so it gets absorbed a lot better. Guys, I have seen my deep sleep improve by as much as 30 to 40% simply by adding in this product along with sunshine exposure, darkness in the room, cooler temperature, all of the things that I always have done. So again, upgradedformulas.com is the website. Go check them out. Researchers calculated the cumulative average of the dietary data over time to reflect the long-term dietary intake. The amount of fat intake was then divided into 5 groups or quintiles. And so listen to how they broke up the different quintiles of the fats. In the study, they put red meat, which included beef, pork, or lamb, as a main dish in sandwiches or mixed dishes, and processed red meats. Processed red meats included bacon, sausage, bologna, hot dog, salami, and other processed meats. They found that during the study, 6,189 participants had a stroke, including 2,967 of them had ischemic stroke, which was caused by a clot cutting off the blood flow to parts of their brain. 814 of them had hemorrhagic stroke caused by bleeding of vessels in the brain. Participants in the highest quintile of non-dairy animal fat intake were 16% more likely to experience a stroke than those who ate the least, the lowest quintile. Dairy fat in products such as cheese, butter, milk, ice cream, cream was not associated with a higher risk of stroke. Again, that's the one bright spot. If they're going to highlight something in this study, dairy fat's a big nothing burger when it comes to stroke risk. Participants who ate the most vegetable fat and the most polyunsaturated fat were 12% less likely to experience a stroke compared to those who ate the least. Remember, relative risk versus actual change. The actual is probably so minuscule, but they make that, and it's the relative risk change. Oh, it's 12%. And it could have just been a little blip on the map of the actual. Those consuming one more serving of total red meat every day had an 8% higher risk of stroke, and those consuming one more serving of processed red meat had a 12% higher risk of stroke. Okay, let me stop here. We act like diets are in a bubble. We act like that when people have food, they're only eating the foods that we're now quantifying as the causal factors in disease. So they're making the claim that those who ate red meat types of fat, animal fats in their diet, had an increased risk of stroke. My first question would be, what else did they eat with the animal fat? Did they eat the animal fat by itself? Were they kind of carnivore? If they were, then your study may have some validity to at least have a second look. But I don't know many people out there in the real world who's only eating meat, and especially not 1986 until about 10 years ago, or 5 years ago, excuse me. No, everybody has a mixed diet. So what carbohydrate sources did they eat? Did they have a lot of refined carbohydrates? And we know this started in the mid-'80s when the low-fat diet was all the rage. How many Snackwell's cookies did they have in there? How many lean cuisines and lean pockets did they have in there? I'm not buying it. I'm not buying that it's the meats that caused the issues or the fat in the meats that caused the issue with the stroke. It could have been the carbohydrate. And we know from most studies of diet that the vast majority of people's diets consist of carbohydrate. And so if their diet was, say, 30% fat and mostly from animal fat, but then it's 60 to 65% carbohydrate, even as low as 50 to 55% carbohydrate, how do you not implicate the carbohydrates in the stroke that you're now attributing to the animal fats? Do they think we're stupid? Maybe they do. High Voltage says, steak for dinner, donuts for dessert, the steak is the problem. Yep. Yes, that's their worldview. And it's unfortunate. I think these kinds of studies do more a disservice to the public than a service to the public. Wang, the lead author, says, based on our findings, listen to this, we recommend for the general public to reduce the consumption of red and processed meat. Why? Why? Because you make an association that you now identify with red and processed meats? Is that why? Why wouldn't you make the exact same association with carbohydrate and recommend they reduce those? No agenda there, I suppose. You need to minimize the fatty parts of unprocessed meat if you consume them. Have you had processed meats that take the fat out? Yuck, gross. If you do consume them, make sure you replace lard or tallow, which is the beef fat, with non-tropical vegetable oils. Things like, listen to what they want you to eat. Olive oil, have no problem with olive oil. Corn oil or soybean oil in order to lower your stroke risk. Well, guess what? Corn oil, soybean oil, cottonseed oil, canola oil. We could go down the list of all these seed oils. They call them vegetable fats, but I'm sorry, guys, a soybean oil is not from a vegetable. Corn oil is not from a vegetable. They're highly inflammatory. Seed oils are the demise of our health in America, and it's gone to most of westernized parts of the world. We don't need no corn oil, soybean oil, canola oil, or any kind of vegetable seed oil in our diet. Those things are going to increase inflammation in the body. They're going to increase the small, dense LDL particles that lead to atherosclerosis and stroke. So for them to make the claim you should eat more of those things that we already know from other studies are going to lead to more stroke, this is criminal to publicly publish this kind of thing. Ain't no oil in corn, says High Voltage. No, don't get me started. Wang said that a look at subtypes of fat intake, such as separating saturated fat, consumed from vegetables, dairy, or non-dairy animal sources would be useful in further understanding the association between fat intake and stroke risk. Many processed meats are high in salts. Oh, not only do we want to demonize saturated fat and other sources of animal fats, but we want to demonize salt too, which, by the way, they want to demonize animal fats and they claim it's saturated fat. Did you know red meat is a 50-50 cut when it comes to saturated fat and monounsaturated fats? Yes, that's right. Your steak that you love to enjoy is only 50% saturated fat in it. The other 50% is monounsaturated fat, the exact same fat that is found in olive oil and in avocado oil, some of those healthier fats that are lauded. So why are we vilifying it? Makes no sense at all. Research shows that replacing processed meat with other protein sources, particularly from plant proteins, is associated with lower death rates. I'm sorry, Alice Lickstein. You can go suck it, because plant-based proteins, you guys, do not provide you the complete amino acid profile. They act like protein is a thing. No, protein is made up of a bunch of amino acids. And when you get all of the amino acids, which, oh yeah, by the way, you get all the amino acids, every single one of them, the complete profile of your amino acids in protein only from animal food. So if you eat eggs, fish, red meat, whatever that you eat that's from an animal, you're getting all the complete proteins. If you only eat plant-based sources of protein, you have to eat a crap load of a whole bunch of different varieties of plant foods in order to get those complete proteins. And then you have the issue of absorption. The absorption of plant-based proteins is not nearly the same as it would be from having animal-based foods. So they continued in the statement, key features of a heart-healthy diet pattern are to balance the calorie intake with calorie needs. Oh, calories in, calories out. Wow, I've never heard that in my life, American Heart Association. How did I ever get through life without your advice to eat calories in, calories out? And in order to achieve and maintain a healthy weight, you should, surprise, surprise, include whole grains, lean and plant-based proteins, a variety of fruits and vegetables, limit your salt, limit your sugar, limit animal fats, processed foods, and alcohol, and apply this guidance regardless of where the food is prepared or consumed. Oh, is that what I'm supposed to do? It's just that easy. Sorry, not playing that game. I get hungry just thinking about just eating those things. So they do acknowledge there is a limitation to their study. It's only observational. Yeah, no kidding. You're looking at a lot of different studies. You're smushing them together. You're looking at data points that are derived from every 4 years having a food questionnaire of these people that are in the study every 4 years during the study to recall what they ate. And now you want to say, well, it's a limitation that it's just an observational study. You know what another limitation is? That you're only looking at the relative risk and not the actual risk difference. The actual risk difference is so minuscule, you would laugh if you saw that it went from 1.25% risk of a stroke to 1% risk. Would you blink an eye at that? No, nobody would. But if you say, ooh, but it's a 16% risk reduction. Ooh, it's a 12% risk increase. It sounds worse than it is, and it's a whole lot of nothing burger. This whole freaking study is a nothing burger, and yet they splash the headlines with it. The results cannot establish a cause and effect link between fat consumption and stroke risk. No kidding! So why even put the study out if there's no causal effect that's in place here? All this does is confuse the public. Oh, I guess I should lower my fat intake from animal foods. Oh, I guess I should eat more vegetable oils and seed oils and And what they've done is they further muddied the water of people that don't pay attention to science.